Okay, we have Dr. Korotkov again to present his speech to finalize this Congress before we have the Q&A session at the end. And Dr. Korotkov, welcome back. We're listening to you.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay, hello everybody again. And this day was extremely interesting. Was absolutely different types of presentations, but everything was very interesting. So thank you everybody who participated today, because this was really, really important for all of us. And of course, we covered many topics, as usually we do during our congresses, because it's all life. It's all our spirit, our soul, that governs everything that is going on with us and with our world. And as we've seen yesterday in the presentation of Lynn McTaggart, it is so important to be for all of us in high spirit and to be together. That is why I totally agree with Michael that this isolation time, it is devastating. Devastating for society, devastating for people, and I hope that you will not be afraid of what's going on, because slowly we are recovering to normal life. And that's one more topic we need to remember, that life is full of everything. Life is full of wonders, and we will have adventures in different parts of the world, in different situations. And by the end of our Congress, I want to share with you ideas and situations that maybe many of you know about, but I was asked many times to make this type of presentation. So this is absolutely another topic compared with what we had today. And this is a topic of discovery. To my mind, one of the greatest discovery that was done in this century, but discovery that is practically unknown. And let me open my screen. Okay, so I need this. Okay, let me share this. Move it. Okay. Okay, here we are.
Now it is fine.
But it's part of this, so it should be shifted still. Okay, here we are. Now it's fine, I hope, yes? Okay, so Peruvian wonders. Do you see the screen? Yes?
Yes, yes. Now it's absolutely fine.
Okay, great. So now we'll proceed. So this is about Peru. And you know that Peru is a fantastic country that we have, I've been traveling many times because it's one of my favorite countries, country that has beautiful cities, that is a beautiful ocean, country that keeps this culture and original culture based on many thousands of years of development, that has beautiful, beautiful nature with many amazing places to visit and to see different animals, birds, fish. And you can go to mountains, you can go to Titicaca Lake to see people on floating islands. You can take part in their celebrations, ceremonies, you can dance with them, and because they are very nice people, they are very welcome people. And of course, this is a country of wonders, ancient wonders of ancient civilizations. This is very well known Machu Picchu, but it's the only, not the only place. Maybe it's very well known place, but not the only place, because there are some totally enigmatic places in Peru that represent very ancient type of civilization. And of course, we have a lot of new understanding that should be achieved before we understand what's going on. And now I want to tell about my latest trip to Peru. And those trips was because you know that Peru, it's the center of old Inca Empire. And it was amazing empire, really amazing, because it consumed territory from practically Argentina, Chile, modern Peru, modern Honduras, and other countries. So it's huge territory. And if we take into account that they didn't have animals, that they didn't have will, that all their power was in just their hand power, it's really amazing. And the wonder of their culture is amazing. Up till now, you can see their ceremonies, and we were lucky to be in Cusco a couple of times to see their ceremonies. If you go to museums, you still can see a lot of treasures that was preserved from destruction. You can see amazing, subjects of arts, and it's absolutely totally unique in the world, those arts. But of course, this all was destroyed when Spaniards conquered this empire, destroyed everything, destroyed their golden forests, destroyed their pieces of arts. And we are lucky that pottery was not interested for Spaniards. So pottery survived. So now about my trip in April 2017, where we had opportunity to see this very interesting mummy, very strange subject.
We were supposed to see one of the most important discovery of the 21st century.
That when he brought it out and pulled it out of the box, it was a stunned silence occurred.
It was prepared mummy. The size of this humanoid was 168 centimeters. It's practically my size, it's a bit shorter. So it means that this was a person who was walking as we do, who was able to move hands as we have, with long legs. So proportion of the body was very similar to ours. It is absolutely authentic hand with 3 long fingers, very long.
The 3 fingers.
Okay, so this was a part of a series of movies done by Gaia company, and this you see our group together with Jaime Mao-san, together with other people from Peru. And this expedition was organized by Gaia company. This is really big American company. They deal with different movies. They have their own website, and they present at their website different thousands of different movies. And people can watch those movies by subscription. And it happened so that we have a joint project with Gaia.com. This is BioWell project, because this device was have been created due to support of Gaia company. And once I've been visiting there in 2017 in April, and the head of Gaia company, he, after our business discussion, he told me, "Oh, Konstantin, do you know about mummies found in Peru?" "No." "Oh, you see, those 3 fingers, little big ones, big ones." "No, no, it's some nonsense. It's impossible to have." "No, no, no. Do you want to visit it? Do you want to see?" "When?" "Oh, day after tomorrow." So it happened so that just by the time Gaia company organized an expedition with camera people to video this situation. So I had to cancel my plans in the United States. I went to the store, I bought my hat, my sandals, and in a couple of days I was flying to Peru. And you see, was really very, very unusual. We've seen mummy with 3 fingers, 3 toes. This mummy was not very big, but later on we've done all measurements, and we were able to see that it's practically the size of a human being, of us, because it was a group of scientists from Mexico, from Peru, and we were able to study this mummy, this particular mummy. And you see, she has an elongated skull, but she was very well preserved. And we were lucky that we were able to take samples of tissues from inside the body. So it was really good chance for us to get it. So this was like this. And when we checked it, we found that it's practically our size. You see, this is the dimensions. And and you've seen, so it was possible to stimulate its movement. And you should remember that it was found in the area of Nazca. It was found by a local person who was searching for treasures, and treasures hunting, it's typical occupation of the local people, very typical. And he found several caves with those strange mummies. And he was able to find interested people, of course, not for free. And that's why finally he found first Jaime Maussan, very famous journalist in Mexico. And then he found Gaia company, and that's why we came there to make filming of all this situation. So Nazca civilization is very enigmatic. You know, this Nazca plains with big images that was possible to see only from the air. But let's know that it's not only this particular plain. In the mountains, there are other hieroglyphs that was found quite recently, and they're huge as well. So no one knows what it was done for. And there are petroglyphs as well, with 3-finger images. But of course, we decided that we keep everything hidden, silent, before we got proven that it's real. Because of course it was possible to imagine that local people would spend the whole winter just constructing this type of mummies to get some money. So samples was sent to a laboratory in the United States, to several laboratories, and it was confirmed that this mummy is quite old. It's about 1,800 years old. So this mummy belonged to the time of Nazca civilization. After this, we decided that we can make study, and coming back to Russia, I was able to find support between top-level scientists in St. Petersburg. First, I addressed our Institute of Obstetrics, and in this institute works very famous genetist, Professor Baranov, who is one of the leader of genetics in Russia, and he's very well known worldwide. So we knew each other for a long time. I was presenting at his conferences, he was presenting at our conferences. So I approached him, told him this story, and he was very glad to organize genetic study. Then I approached university, first university of Russia. This is our biggest, one of the biggest university of Russia in St. Petersburg. And in this university, they have a so-named research park with many different type of equipment. And again, I approached people in this area, in this park, and as we knew each other. So they again agreed to make some research in material study and in genetic study. The next was St. Petersburg Medical University, where Professor Galetsky, top-level anatomist from the chair of anatomy, became very interested in this topic, and he was one of my best collaborators. And then one more topic, it was Institute of Analysis and Diagnostics. In this institute, they have several hundred tomographers and to make tomography. And that's why people who worked there, they again agreed to make analysis, because those mummies have been investigated in Peru, in Cusco, by Dr. Raimundo Salas Alfaro, who was able to make first X-ray of those mummies and then tomography of of those mummies. So what was found? Maria was the first, and her age was about 35, 45 years old. And it was based on the condition of her teeth and bones. She was dying, laying on her right side, and conclusion was done due to the transition of tissues from this side and from the back side. And it was clear marks of torn, beaten wounds of the considerable size in the pelvic area, and several lines and points, presumably from the claws. Skin and subcutaneous fat was removed. Two coccygeal vertebrae are broken off. So it was impression that this body was attacked by an animal, and even more than that, it was marks that this body was dragged somehow, because it was pieces of different pelvis, different little stones in tissues. So Professor Galetsky made an assumption that this body was taken by animal. And you know that in those areas, in Inca times, been a lot of jaguars. And in all culture of all these areas, jaguar was considered to be a sacred animal. And you can see many images of jaguars in different sculptures and in paintings. So that's quite possible. So then I will show you some details of the analysis. Cranial part was cranial skull is appropriate configuration, somewhat elongated in the front rear direction. The front of the skull is flattened. So configuration of the skull is different from our usual skulls of human beings. If we look to teeth, then we see the construction of the teeth was similar to human beings. Some of teeth was lost, some of teeth was present. So it is typical situation with teeth for ingenious people, because we know that due to their life conditions, people was losing teeth in quite early age, about 35, 40 age old. So that was very natural situation. Very interesting that auriculus are absent, so no ears. And there are no signs of forced removal. There are only hole, but no ears like we have. In the chest, in the throat cavity, it is clear visual contours of the heart of appropriate configuration, the contours of the bronchial tree, lung tissues, and esophagus are clearly visible. So it is clear that all configurations of internal organ are very, very similar to human beings, except of some part that was removed. So all reproductive organs have been removed. We don't know whether it was by this animal, jaguar, or it was somehow, but it was absent, totally absent. The hand consists of 3 fingers, each with 4 phalanx. If you look to your own finger, you see that you have 3 phalanx. But this finger had 4 phalanx. And of course, as you see, it is much, much longer compared with our fingers. So that's totally different, and different construction, not only of fingers, but the whole hand. So the bones of the hand are different compared with our bones. And the structure of the calcaneus is remarkable. It has no heel block. So during walk, she must have supported on the heel and lighting of toes and switching from one foot to another. So again, you see it is absolutely clear difference from our construction. And of course, it may resemble some animals, because some animals, they do have 3 fingers. And in the history of animal kingdom, we can find some animals with 3 fingers. It was many dinosaurs with 3 fingers. So that's quite possible. And then it was our first trip and our first stage of analysis. Then we had second trip in Peru in July 2017. And we had 2 new type of mummies, one human-like, another non-human-like. One type was so named Aveda. It's a baby, a little child. Still, it is not clear who she was, but we believe that most probable she is human-like. And most probable it was a baby wounded and damaged in some situation, and that's why we don't think that she's something special. Another several type of mummies was like this, Victoria. It was sitting mummy with headless. And this allowed scientists to get samples from the neck and to study. So we were able to study those samples again. And 2 extra mummies under the name Alberto and Josefina. And you see, this is absolutely unusual creatures, totally unusual. They are of little size, of this size. And of course, first idea was that it's some dolls that was artificially created to pump out money from us. But when X-ray was done, it was found that it's not that easy. That their construction is really so specific that it's very unlikely to create this like dolls, because would it be dolls, then they would reproduce our construction, but those are totally different. You see, this is of little size, about 60 centimeters of size. This number of vertebrae is 11, 3 fingers, 3 toes, but the total construction of the body was absolutely different. And as I've told, those mummies was found in Peru, in Nazca area, one local guy. And after 1 year of discussion, he agreed to take us to the cave. And together with Professor Galitsky, we were able to go to Peru to have a look what it's all about. As you see in this valley, it is no vegetation at all. Down there, you see greens. Those are river. Without river, without water, absolutely nothing. And it was quite warm, about degrees, windy. And this local guy, he took us up to the valley, first along the pass, then up to the mountain.
Pachamama, hago la tierra, permiso, a la Santa Tierra.
And this is ceremony for Panchamama, the local deity.
Two, one.
Coca leaves and the aqua. After about 1 hour of such a climbing, we came to a place where was this cave. But it's clear that it was very difficult to find it. So we had special clothing, respirators to come inside. I did bioval measurements. And then we climbed inside. And of course, we didn't find this mummy. It was taken there by our local guide. And he demonstrated us the way how it was initially.
Okay, here we are. Yes. Okay, we have it. It is practically same as.
It's similar.
It's very similar to Alberta and Josefina. Very, very similar. Very similar. And we see same construction of fingers, same construction of toes, same type of head. Okay, let's now clean it a little bit. Okay, so
Please.
okay.
Moment, absolutely. It's really a great moment.
Так, я предлагаю сейчас взять фотографию совсем. Они полностью соответствуют. И здесь интересно то, что вот ключица, она идет таким углом. А у Жозефины там был перелом, и оно срослось. И поставили пластину.
Okay, so after this trip to the cave, we came to the house of Mario, the host, and he demonstrated us two new mummies, little ones. And again, they've been similar, very similar to what we've seen before. So it is clear that it's a lot of little mummies, at least little mummies in those caves. I'm not sure that the cave we've been visiting, it's a real cave. I'm not sure. I'm afraid that he is hiding the real cave because he is still interested in getting money from the process. But you see, we were able, and pay attention to this part of this belly. That's very interesting as well. So 3 toes, 3 fingers, very interesting skull. And of course, with samples of tissues was done analysis, and samples was sent to one and the same laboratory, but under different numbers. And you see, the range is from 3,000 to 6,000. It is understandable, and I discuss this topic in my book, why it's understandable. But what's important? It is not 30,000. It's not 100,000 years. It is from 3,000 to 6,000 years. So it is time very well known to archaeologists, time of different civilizations known in those areas. But of course, it was another question. When we had first analysis of Maria, we had questions and objections. Okay, maybe the body is okay. It is old mummy, no doubts. There are many old mummies in Peru. But maybe fingers and toes, they are just connected somehow. Maybe they are taken from hand or from anything, and then just connected to this body to create this impression. So in the second trip to Peru, I was able to get samples from the body of Maria, from fingers and toes, and it was done composition analysis of the elements. It was shown that composition, that all samples represent biological tissues. So it's not paper, it's not something, it's biological tissues. Maria's finger sample has the same basis as Maria's toe and Maria's body. It is a biological fiber. The surface of specimen was treated with a cadmium drug, most like cadmium chloride, crystals of which was found by scanning electron microscopy. So you see, first of all, it is clear that those are same samples, and this infrared spectroscopy demonstrated this. And interesting that cadmium chloride, this is element that doesn't exist in nature. Of course, there are cadmium ore, but to extract cadmium, you need to have a chemical process. And this is chemical process that's impossible to make in your kitchen. So you should have. Okay, someone didn't turn off my microphone. So please turn off all your mics. So that's another enigma. And elemental analysis of Maria's body, fingers and toes suggested they belong to the same subject. And Aveda body composition is very similar. So that's clear that she belonged to maybe same area. Then it was found some yellowish liquid when they extracted DNA, and it was very strange for chemists because this liquid had very strong smell. And chemical analysis of this liquid demonstrated that it is some oil, some essential oil. And of course, again, it's absolutely clear that this oil most likely was used to mummification process. So it's clear that it's not natural to have this on the body. And now a little bit about these little mummies, those little creatures, because now we have many of them, not many, but at least I've seen 6, and we know that those are many more that exist. So first of all, they have many similar features, because we were able to see CT scan of several of them. And the height of them is about 60 centimeters. Those are male type and female type. They are different in size and in construction. They have elongated skull with large, deep eye sockets, not pronounced nose, and the cavities in the occipital region. Skull has a large square hole. It's known as foramen magnum in the middle, on the base of the skull. It's very, very strange hole, because apes and humans have it in the posterior part and of a round shape. So to have it a rectangular shape, it's very, very strange. And we'll see a lot of more strange topics. Near the lateral edge of the eye socket, there are several small holes. Behind them, there are 3 more medium-sized holes covered with skin. Of course, no known to us animals have this type of holes on the skull. The upper and lower jaws are represented by unpaired plates of about 10 millimeters in height, resembling bone in density, with rotational movement in the anterior-posterior position. Each plate is surrounded by soft tissues resembling the tissue of the lips. So they didn't have teeth. They was able to open their mouths to just little extent, and that's why it's not clear how they were able to process food and how they were able to get food. Thorax has no sternum, with clavices not fixed to the sternum because it's absent, and ribs in the form of a semicircle, which presumably connected with the transverse appendage of vertebra. This type of ribs in the form of semicircle is not typical for creatures living on Earth. Even the ribs of snakes have a gap in the middle. So this is one of the very, very strange features of those mummies. And this type of ribs doesn't exist on the Earth for any creatures. 9 thoracic vertebrae have 3 structural variants, again different from humans and apes. In the book, Professor Galetsky makes very detailed description of those features. And there are big difference between upper vertebrae and lower vertebrae. And so it is absolutely clear that those are different from anything we know. And what's interesting, in one of the mummies, there are a metal plate in the center of the chest. So this allows to assume that after the fracture, this mummy, her name was given Josefina, has surgery to remove the articular parts, which reduced the total length of the clavices, and a metal plate was implanted to hold the shape of the chest. So again, it was proven that this is metal, and it was proven that it was placed, implanted to keep this fracture. And it was found several more hands and mummies with metal incisions. So it was done analysis of those metals, and in most cases, these metals contained gold, silver, and copper. So it's very typical for civilization of the Copper Age to make this type of metal. Only one implant had iron and chromium. So it resembles modern steel. And it was found in one three-fingered hand. So it is clear that those mummies belonged to a civilization that was able to make this type of implants and was able to make this type of surgery. As we know, in civilization of Nazca, that was existing by several thousand years ago by that area, they didn't have this knowledge. A very interesting anatomy of the joints, both elbow joint and knee joint. So they did not have this construction as we do. I hope you can imagine how our joints are constructed. So because they were constructed of a crown, and the elbow bone has a convex surface. So the elbow joint consists of small cavities. The articular surface do not interact with each other. This is a fundamental difference of this type of joint with the joints of humans or apes and other existing animals with a bony skeleton. So it is totally different construction with some connective tissues between bones. And it is clear that those creatures was able to move those bones, but not as easily as we do. So it was totally different. I'm sorry. I'm sorry myself. Okay, and of course the hand consists of the wrist, the heel, and the bones of the fingers. The wrist is represented by a solid trapezoid bone with bone trabecula inside. The back and the palmar interosseous muscles are missing, which can be interpreted as the lack of movement of obstruction and bringing the fingers. 3 fingers have 3 phalanges. So this again is a difference from Maria. So it looked like some type of dinosaurs. So maybe there are one concept that they are distinct from dinosaurs. And same construction of the heels with 3 toes, with some holes, very strange holes inside the tarsus. So it is very strange construction. But what was maybe one of the very interesting topics, those are eggs found in the body of one mummy. And it was found by X-ray, then a CT scan, and later on we've seen that same type of belly has another mummy. So it seems to me it's typical for them to have. And in CT, when Dr. Galetsky made CT scan very careful, he found that it looks like an embryo of it looks like 8 weeks human embryo. So again, it's clear that those creatures, they had eggs inside. It's no doubts now, and we can recall only maybe some animals from Australia who carry eggs as well, together with birds. And of course, DNA study. In this book, Dr. Martinez from France, she accumulated DNA studies done in different countries. So it was not just in one country. It was done in Russia, in Mexico, in Peru, in the United States, and in Canada. And all the data, they correlated with each other. So, so it was the whole process of isolating DNA. It took practically a year to get precise analysis of the DNA. And it was found that Maria has DNA similar to humans. The big question is, what's the difference between our DNA and DNA of any other creatures on the earth, like apes? The difference is that we have chromosome number 2, that is the fusion of 2 chromosomes. So we have so-named telomeres by the end of every chromosome. And telomeres, those are substance, those are, I would say, some molecules, some organic structure that preserve chromosome from external influence. That's why there are very well accepted theory that with age, this telomere size decreases. So all chromosomes, all creatures, they have telomeres by the end, and so-named centromere in the middle. So when the chromosome divide to two parts, they divide by centromere. In our DNA, we have chromosome number 2, that is a fusion of 2 chromosomes. And of course, it is absolutely clear that it was impossible to create this type of chromosome by natural selection. Impossible. Because even if would be created by some process, then it would have been eliminated by nature, by natural process. So this is one of the enigmas of our human development, of our human origin, not development, but origin, where we came from and by which process. It's for me and for many scientists clear that it's not Darwinian process, that we are not descendants of monkeys. We are different. So after this analysis, DNA analysis was developed, this DNA was compared with DNA of modern populations, of modern people. And you see this multi-dimensional map. In reality, it has about 40 dimensions, where it was possible to compare DNA of Maria with all known to our genetic DNA. And it's clear that correlation is, so it is human DNA, but no resemblance to any existing population. But of course, we didn't have DNA of ancient Peruvian people, so we don't know how it is correlated with ancient Peruvian people. Now about little mummies. Again, their DNA was done very carefully in Mexico and Canada, and they found that their DNA had no correlation with any existing creatures on the earth. And they did this analysis both with animals, plants, different bacteria, and they found practically no correlation. So you see it is, of course, we have something similar with everything, and they have this 5% similarity to Homo sapiens, but it's clear that it's something different. Some different creatures from DNA analysis. So it doesn't make sense to compare them to any existing creatures. One more topic, those are this powder, maybe you've seen on the movie, that they were carried inside. And this powder was found, it's nothing, so in the beginning idea was it was something artificial, but later on it was found that it is natural. It is so named diatomous earth. So it is type of diatoms, a type of blue-green algae. And this algae existed in those areas when it was an ocean, many millennia ago. So now you see this clear that those creatures, most little ones, those others are absolutely different from all living beings that we know on the earth. And the question is whether they've been known to ancient Nazca civilization. And we have many, many artifacts from this civilization. And in many artifacts, you can see something resembling of this. So this picture I was able to get in Lima Archaeological Museum. So this image is on display. Same as many images of their tapestry. And you see in all those images, you see 3-finger creatures. So there are many, many of them. And you can find this both on the internet, and some of them we've taken with Professor Galitsky in the museum. So after more than a year of this study in different countries, it was clear that we faced something absolutely unusual and outstanding. That is why in November 2018, it was organized hearings in Peruvian Congress, where scientists from many countries, from United States, Peru, Mexico, Canada, France, Russia, presented their findings. It was 6 or 7 hours. It was transmitted by YouTube. It was presided by the congressman from Nazca area. So we presented data, and our idea was that, you see, you have in Peru really some very unusual topic, very unusual discovery. This discovery belonged to Peruvian people. Nobody of us have taken something out of the country. So please take this and make this study and make this known. But unfortunately, response from official areas was absolutely negative. It was one top Peruvian archaeologist who told that it's all nonsense, that he doesn't want to deal with this because he doesn't know where it was found, who have found this. It is all black robbers, and he doesn't want even to discuss this. It's very strange because we know very well the area where those mummies have been found. So it's very easy to organize an expedition to this area, to persuade this local person, Mario, to show this real places and to find them. But no one was interested to do this. After long negotiations, in by the end of in 2019, those mummies was transported to the University of Ica in Peru. And rector of this university, he's a very bright person. He told that they are interested to make this study and they will be doing this research. They will proceed with this research. So we are looking forward to get some extra data. So the question is, mummies of Nazca, who they are? And you know that now we have known to science Homo sapiens, well accepted Homo sapiens. Those are Homo sapiens neanderthales, Homo sapiens sapiens, as we are, and Homo sapiens denisovan. And it is possible to assume that a new breed of Homo was found in Nazca, because quite recently, new breed of Homo was found in the Philippines. It is just a handful of fossil teeth and bones. And scientists told that those are some sapiens that existed on Philippines about 50,000 years ago. So why not? Why not we assume that together to known Homo sapiens, it was another Homo, like Homo Nazca. And those are just different breeds of Homo. And so they existed for some millenniums and then they separated. So why not? Of course, much more questions about little ones, because the only resemblance we can define in dinosaurs. But of course, as I've told, we don't have means to study their resemblance, real resemblance to dinosaurs. So those are big questions, who they are. And in my book, The Mummies, the Mysterious Mummies of Nazca, that is translated to Spanish, English, and Russian and published, there are much more materials. So what I've told now is just a little part of material that I have in this book, because it's presentation, first of all, of the story. Second part, it is different ideas. What does it mean? And the third part, it is scientific data. Data of DNA analysis, data of anatomical study, and data of material study. And it is clear that we have more questions than answers. But only when we know that we don't know the answer, science begins. And of course, it's very pity that modern scientists, modern science don't pay attention to this situation. But I hope maybe it will change at some moment. Okay, thank you very much for this, for the attention. Okay.